Red Chaebol, corporate groups centered on wealthy owners under party control. Episode 14, Fostering Chaebols and North Korea's Transition to Capitalism. Creating the miracle on the Taedong River. North Korea's Workers' Party can implement a market economy. North Korea, which has clung to socialism, is transforming itself to foster chaebols? It is an intriguing twist. For North Korea to successfully industrialize into a market economy belatedly, relying solely on small and medium-sized enterprises, SMEs, is insufficient. Large-scale industrial groups known as chaebols are necessary. To execute large-scale projects, a chaebol with a large capacity is required. They can accumulate capital and technology, and by expanding their size, they can drive exports through economies of scale. In North Korea, while a replica of the South Korean chaebol model is possible, the industrial group model is more realistic. It involves combining the early models of South Korean companies like Samsung and Hyundai with the Chinese industrial group model. The North Korean model can be called the state-fostered industrial group model. First, as a first step, state-owned enterprises are grouped into industrial groups. For example, if an energy group is created, power generation, transmission, and distribution, coal and renewable energy companies are bundled together. A mineral group would combine mining, smelting, and logistics, and a construction group would combine cement, construction, and architectural design. In the subsequent second stage, the entity is incorporated and converted into a holding company. This involves the holding company owning various companies within the industrial group as subsidiaries. In the third stage, mixed ownership is introduced. This structure involves the state holding 51% of the shares, while private or foreign capital holds 49%. This is how private corporate groups are fostered through a long-term strategy. Of course, there will likely be private corporate groups that stand out exceptionally from the start, much like Korea's Hyundai or Samsung. Benchmarking the Park Chung-hee style of development, which favors the high-performing while withholding assistance from the underperforming, exceptionally high-performing private companies, are given even more special support to grow into even more exceptional chaebols. As North Korea gradually transitions to a capitalist market economy while maintaining its political system, fostering large business groups, specifically chaebols like the North Korean versions of Samsung and Hyundai, is a realistically feasible scenario. In North Korea, the emerging wealthy class known as donju, de facto private capitalists and trading companies and enterprises under the party, military, and cabinet are already growing in size. Some characterize this as North Korean-style chaebol. Since the arduous march, with the expansion of markets and increased corporate autonomy under the Socialist Enterprise Responsibility Management System, donju have become deeply involved in the leasing, investment, distribution, and construction activities of state-owned enterprises. Some donju have grown to the level of de facto large conglomerates in the sectors of transportation, food processing, real estate, informal finance, and trade. The leadership in Pyongyang seeks to maintain control while generating economic achievements to ensure regime stability. Fostering chaebol serves as a means to create growth engines through efficient resource allocation, technology adoption, foreign investment attraction, and export expansion, while simultaneously maintaining control through close ties with the party and the state, specifically through bribes, personnel intervention, and political loyalty. It is difficult to achieve economies of scale, technological innovation, and global competition relying solely on small-scale private investors or state-owned enterprises. By creating diversified large conglomerates like Samsung and Hyundai, one can drive the advancement of the industrial structure and regional development. We can refer to the chaebol development models of Korea and China. The Korean chaebol development model is characterized by government support, family management, diversification, and export-driven growth. While initially growing through a close relationship with political power, the group gradually solidified its governance structure as it grew in size and complexity by strengthening internal transactions such as circular shareholding and the concentration of work among its diversified affiliates. China placed strategic state-owned enterprises at the center while simultaneously fostering private conglomerates like Huawei, Alibaba, and Tencent in state-selected industries for intensive development. It introduced a mixed ownership system while maintaining party control. North Korea could adopt a model based on the combination of Chinese-style party leadership and Chaebol-style management, while incorporating elements of Korean Chaebol family management to a limited extent. Now let us examine the scenario for fostering a North Korean version of the Chaebol through a gradual, step-by-step roadmap. It is highly likely that North Korea aims for a hybrid Chaebol under the control of the party and the state, rather than a fully private Chaebol. Since maintaining the regime is the priority, the core elements will be state ownership, party organization, and a tribute structure. In the first stage, a short-term plan spanning 1 to 3 years will involve reorganizing existing resources and formalizing the Donju wealthy business owners. In addition to existing Donju who possess high loyalty, capital, and management capabilities, large enterprises under the party, military, and cabinet will be designated as state-designated strategic corporate groups. These will be categorized by region and industrial sector, with at least 2 selected to account for competitive landscapes. A corporate group registration system will be introduced through the amendment of the Special Act on Economic Special Zones and the Corporate Act, and a Chaebol-style multi-affiliate structure will be permitted, allowing for parent companies and affiliates. Support policies include various measures such as tax incentives like the priority allocation of long-term land and facility usage rights, corporate tax reductions, and customs exemptions, financial support such as loans from state-owned banks, or the formal attraction of capital from informal financiers and the expansion of export and trade authority. Control in the regime's finances are secured through measures such as the permanent stationing of party committees, a system for approving key personnel, and the mandatory remittance of profits. In the second phase, spanning a period of 3 to 7 years, a North Korean version of the Samsung Hyundai model is established through diversification and scale expansion. Groups are formed by considering industrial diversification, regional balance, and competitive structures. The Construction and Infrastructure Group combines the housing, road, special zone development, and overseas construction sectors. The Electronics, Machinery, and Consumer Goods Group combines home appliances, telecommunications equipment, automobile assembly, and the early stages of semiconductors. The Resources and Energy Group combines the development, processing, and export sectors of minerals, coal, and rare earth elements. The Distribution, Finance, and Service Groups can be combined with market networks, logistics, non-bank financial services such as insurance and leasing, and tourism. Groups providing high-quality software services globally could also be established by leveraging North Korea's strength in software capabilities. A military-industrial complex group that applies technology and know-how accumulated in the defense sector to the private sector would also be highly competitive. Specific individuals or companies could be nurtured into Chaebols by granting them exclusive privileges to undertake national projects, such as special economic zones, free trade zones, industrial complexes, and tourist cities. Alternatively, Chaebols could be created by granting specific large corporations from specific countries such as the United States, China, Japan, and South Korea privileges for large-scale development or business within North Korea, while designating specific North Korean partner companies. Phase 3 is a period aimed at strengthening global competitiveness and stabilizing the system in the long term, starting 7 years from now. Chaebols are fostered into export-oriented enterprises to target the markets of China, Russia, and Southeast Asia. Once nuclear disarmament is completely finished and diplomatic relations with the United States are established, markets in developed nations, such as the U.S. and Europe, can also be targeted. A stock market is introduced on a trial basis within the special economic zones to raise capital through the listing of Chaebol affiliates. Party control can be maintained while strengthening governance transparency, such as through external audits, in accordance with international norms. Risk is diversified by inducing competition among Chaebols and introducing antitrust regulations. For these Chaebol fostering policies to succeed, open and official political expression and support are essential. The supreme leader or successor personally declares the cultivation of state strategic Chaebols and pledges their protection. The cultivation of North Korean chaebols is already partially underway in the form of wealthy individuals' donju, or large trading companies, representing a pragmatic choice aimed at achieving both regime maintenance and economic growth. However, given the ongoing sanctions, it is crucial for North Korea to proactively declare a transition to a market economy, preemptively overhaul its institutions to demonstrate its resolve through action, and take the lead in resolving the nuclear issue with the United States. If this issue is not resolved, North Korea's reform and growth will be limited even after transitioning to a market economy, as insufficient infrastructure, technological gaps, and a lack of international trust will make sufficient exchange with the outside world impossible. Once the cultivation of chaebols is officially formalized in North Korea, the most likely form is likely to evolve into a hybrid model, a red chaebol, where corporate groups centered on wealthy individuals under party control become family-oriented, prioritizing political loyalty and state contribution above all else, much like Samsung or Hyundai. Next time, I will discuss plans for fostering export-oriented industries in the event of North Korea's transition to a market economy. Thank you.